let's get into it. Thank you all, first and foremost, for joining us today for the Learning Abroad information session. We're going to be running through the application essentials, where we're going to cover off on all things learning abroad, but importantly, how to apply. Okay, so demystifying that whole experience. Sometimes it can be intimidating filling out forms for the first time. And so we're here to walk and talk you through it today. Got a little agenda just to keep us ticking along. So we'll start with some brief introductions, who we are, what we're doing here, what we're about. The application deadlines and dates, so we'll talk a little bit about those, of course. The application process, okay, so as I said, we'll look behind the scenes, what it looks like, what you can anticipate the application process looks like, feels like, what you need to do basically to put in your application. Then we're going to talk about tips for success, which are really important, okay, there are some pitfalls or some drawbacks or some things which you want to think about when making decisions for studying overseas, and we want to plan for success. So we'll run through some of those tips and tricks. And then we'll round out with a real student experience. So we're joined today by a student who's been overseas on an exchange program, had a marvelous time, been there, done that, got the t-shirt, and they're going to talk to us a little bit about their experience, but also if they can cast their mind back, what it was like when they applied and how they went about finding the right university, finding the right program for them. So that's the agenda for today. A couple of quick slides to get through. I will also just draw your attention. All of these photos are from students who have been overseas on an exchange program, got the name, the degree that they're studying, and their destination, so the country or the place that they went. So this is Thomas, did a Bachelor of Business and Law. That's what he's doing at the moment. And he went and studied at Uppsala University in Sweden. A picture tells 1,000 words. So these students have had wonderful, life-changing experiences. I love learning abroad for that. And I'm just glad that I'm going to be able to share them with you today. So buckle up. That's what we've got in store. First cab off the rank, the Learning Abroad office. Who are we? Learning abroad. What does that mean? Our team helps support students study overseas as a part of their degree. The Learning Abroad office, we receive students on exchange from our partner universities, and we send students overseas as a part of their UTAS degree. We're based, you can see the photo there on the Sandy Bay campus, Social Sciences, room 379. We have regular open hours, okay, so we're open Tuesday to Thursday from 10 until 2. So you can just drop in, pop by our office and ask us some questions, but we also have regular drop-in hours and you can book in with us online. So I'll share a link to the booking page at the end of this presentation, but you're more than welcome to ask us questions. We're friendly, we're approachable, we're open, we're helpful. And our job, really, our goal is to give you helpful advice and guidance, to guide you through and work through the next steps and help you make decisions on the exciting part of your degree, studying overseas, where you could go, what you can do. We're also very experienced, okay? We've got a team, it just appeared on the screen. We're good at problem solving, but we've also been overseas. We've traveled a fair bit. We know what it's like. We know what the hardships can be like. So we are a helpful resource for you. So please do hit us with your best questions and we're here to work it out with you. So if you do send an email or you set up a booking with us, the people you're going to speak to are either Marnie, Patrick, that's me, Georgia, our inbound coordinator, or Kirsty. These are the people that work in this team who are going to respond to your queries. So that's us. But more importantly, let's talk a little bit about you, who you are, where you want to go. First things first, exchange application dates. Okay, this is a little bit of marketing for you, but coming soon, okay? If you want to study overseas on an exchange program, semester 2, 2026, so this time next year, if you want to be overseas in another country studying at one of our partner universities, applications open on the 30th of October, the end of this month, not long now. And they'll close on the 28th of February, just as it says on the page. So you've got roughly 3 or 4 months to start doing some research and put in an application. If you want to go a bit longer range, if you're thinking about studying overseas in semester 1, 2027, applications will open in May next year and they'll close on the 30th of July. So those are your timelines. These are the things that we're looking at. Okay, so for students thinking about an exchange program, let's talk a little bit about eligibility. So it's eligible for undergraduate and postgraduate students. We've got a link to our website there, but essentially and really importantly, it depends on what course or what degree you're studying. So Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Business, Bachelor of Sciences, and many others at an undergraduate level are eligible courses for an exchange program. It's really important that students have the space in their study plan. I'll give you an example of when it doesn't work. A student comes to us with only 3 units remaining in their degree. They're doing those 3 units right now. Okay, if a student came to me and they graduate at the end of this year, but they want to go on an exchange next year, they don't have the space. They don't have enough units remaining in their degree. So it's really important that the studies that you do overseas can count back for credit here at UTAS. So timing is essential. Okay, so the timing of when you go abroad is really vital. And it's also, this whole program is contingent on you getting academic credit. Okay. Okay, the next component of eligibility, we want students to have completed 100 credit points. Okay. Typically, a unit at UTAS is 12.5 credit points, and that means if you do the maths, okay, per semester, if you do 4 units, 4 subjects, you'll get 50 credit points. Okay, so you need to complete 1 full year of studies, or said another way, have completed successfully 100 credit points at UTAS. Okay, minimum requirement. We also want students to have and maintain a GPA of 4.0 or above. A GPA is just a grade point average. You get that changes after every unit, after every semester of studies. We want students to be passing everything. Okay, so to be eligible for an exchange program, you need to have and maintain a grade point average of 4.0. We don't want to send students overseas who are failing units. If you're failing units at UTAS, then it's increased, or it's more likely that you fail units whilst abroad. You don't have a support network. It's an unfamiliar academic setting. These are things that we don't want to set students up to fail. So pass everything at UTAS, complete 100 credit points, be enrolled in an eligible degree. Bingo, you're onto something. Okay, we have a winner. Now, just a quick breakdown. There are 2 main sort of genres or themes or types of programs. There's exchange. That's where we exchange or swap students with a partner university. Okay, so we send 1 student to a university, say Taylor on the screen here, to Sciences Po. We send 1 student to Sciences Po for a semester, and they send us 1 student back. We're exchanging or swapping students. So Taylor just kept paying her fees at UTAS. So she had a tuition-free waiver at that university. She went and studied there for free and just continued paying her fees back here at UTAS. So an exchange program is a cultural exchange, a language exchange, an academic experience for you students on the call, but it's also behind the scenes we're exchanging or swapping students. Now, study abroad, if you hear the term study abroad, it's similar. It's a similar sort of activity. You still go overseas on an overseas experience, but typically you'll pay fees. You'll pay fees upfront to the destination or the program that you go on. Today, I'll be talking about predominantly exchange programs. Okay, so that's eligibility, and those are some of the program types. Let's talk a little bit about the application process, okay? I'm just going to run you through this in a step-by-step, okay? I'm going to share these slides, and importantly, hyperlinks, okay? Hyperlinks to your friends. These are going to link you through to the answers to get you thinking about who you are, where you want to go, and how you get there, okay? Step by step. Number 1, download the guide, okay? The guide's really important. It's a step-by-step procedure, okay? It talks you through every step of the way. Second, check your eligibility, okay? By eligibility, I just ran through a very brief version, but there are some important boxes that you need to tick to be eligible to go overseas on an exchange. Next, we want you to choose your destination, choose your program. maybe as I go through these, I'm going to do something dangerous for those on the call. I'm going to click the link and we're going to see what happens. Okay. Click this link, download, takes us through to the guide. And here we are. This is the guide. Maybe I'll talk to this at length. The step-by-step guide. We want students to attend an information session like we're doing today. So thanks for those on the call. Next, we want students to touch base with a student advisor. Okay. Before applying for an exchange, it's important to make an appointment with a student advisor regarding your study plan. Okay. These programs are contingent or based off you getting academic credit. You meet with a student advisor and you draft up or whip up a study plan, planning your studies to incorporate a student exchange program. Okay, so the hyperlinks there, you can book in an appointment with a student advisor. You do this at the start, right? Early in the piece, you're like, okay, I want to go abroad. How does this fit in with my studies? Student advisors are the helpful people at UTAS who are going to walk and talk you through that whole process. Check the eligibility, really important, okay? We'll spend a bit of time on this as we already have, but hyperlinks there, you can check out the eligibility criteria at your leisure. We have a lot of information on the student portal, really key. We have some information on funding and scholarships and more. So check out the student portal, helpful place for all information, UTAS students. And then applying. If you've done step 1, 2, 3, 4, you are ready to apply. Nice one. All right. Back to the presentation. So the guide, good. Check the eligibility, important. And then choosing your destination. Let's check that out. So on our website, we've got this wonderful website where you can essentially find programs which may be of interest. Okay. For some of you, this may be familiar. Okay. The Learning Abroad website. Where will your adventure take you? Got some helpful little buttons here, information sessions, the step-by-step guide, as I mentioned, and a link to some of the funding and scholarships. Let's have a little search today. Today we'll look at the University of Otago in New Zealand, our naughty neighbours. These are one of our exchange partners. Okay, so you can search by filter. I'm going to look at countries in, I'm going to search by New Zealand, and we'll see what we've got in New Zealand. Got two options. We've got the University of Otago and the University of Waikato. Waikato, North Island, Otago, South Island. So we'll click on Otago and we're away. This is where you can find information on the partner university. We've got the program overview, the basic facts and info, got an information sheet and some info on some of their study areas. We can look at more academic information, check out their fact sheet or the partner university website. We can look at their semester dates, February to June, July to November, so very similar to UTAS. And then we can start going into more details. How to apply for funding and options, what it's like on campus. Here's some information which you might be curious about. And then there's a little bit more information on student experience. Okay, so that's how that's the page for the University of Otago. When the time is right, this program is not currently accepting applications. Applications will open at the end of this month, but this will be a big red button that says, please apply. So maybe there's someone in the room who's studying, I don't know, business. We use that as an example. If you're doing accounting, or maybe you're doing accounting or something else like mathematics. Let's check those out. Let's see. And humanities and social sciences. Let's see what options we've got for accounting, humanities and social science, and mathematics. So this way we're filtering and searching by academic program or discipline study area. And we've got 73 matches. So heaps and heaps of different options. We've got options in the UK, we've got options across Europe, we've got Fort Collins, Colorado State in the United States. You get the idea. This is a way to filter and find programs. So from there, you can click on that brochure, that online brochure, and start learning about that university and seeing if it's a right fit for you. So that right there is how you start finding the right program for you. And if you need more help and guidance, you're always welcome to reach out to us at the Learning Abroad office. Okay, we're back on the slides. Perhaps the most important part of this presentation is I want to show you what it's like when you're applying, okay? We'll get to that in a sec. So the last two things, the last two dot points here are prepare your documents, okay? And we'll look at this in a sec, but after you've downloaded the guide and followed those steps, after you've checked your eligibility, and after you've shortlisted a few programs or destinations that you're interested in, it's time for you to start preparing your documents, okay? A statement of purpose and perhaps identifying an academic reference. So a lecturer or a tutor here at UTAS who you'd feel confident approaching saying, hello, my name's Patrick, and I'm really interested in studying overseas in semester 2, 2026. Would you like to be an academic reference for me? I've studied in your class, whatever it is. I've done really well. And I just want you to, well, what do you think? Do you think that I'm equipped with the skills as it currently stands? Do you think I'd be a good ambassador for the university, for the state, for the country? Would you trust me to go abroad? And that academic might say, oh yes, I think that's a really good idea. So you've worded them up. You've had a chat with them about how your hopes and dreams to study overseas, and then ask them whether or not they'd be comfortable to be an academic reference. Okay, so that's our little 5-step. Okay, download the guide, check the eligibility, start shortlisting destinations, whip up a statement of purpose, and then consult an academic about whether or not there'd be an academic reference. So let's do a demo. Okay, let's do a demo of what that actually like. I've started an application to the University of Otago. I'm going to go abroad to New Zealand in semester 1, 2026 for 1 full year. So let's get started. Okay, I've pressed the big red button. I've identified where and when I want to go. Let's look at the questions that I have to answer. First things first, application questions. How did you find out about the program? Well, I came along to an information session. Do you plan to apply with a friend? Okay, why do we have this question here? Well, we want students to apply. Sometimes students just go it alone, but other times you want to be, you're Batman and Robin. You're a dynamic duo, you apply together and we try and keep you together. So do you plan to apply with a friend? Yes. Me and my friend Bob are going to go abroad. Do you hold dual citizenship? This is helpful because sometimes there can be complexity or challenges if we try and send, for instance, maybe a Chinese student on an exchange to China or an American student to the US. It's just something that you flag with us nice and early. It's something that we ask our partner universities. It's, hi, we're sending you a student who is a national of your country. Are you happy to receive them? So I don't hold a dual citizenship, so no worries. Okay, so application questions over. Next, host university preferences. Now, host university, we use the word host. That is the university that's going to host you or look after you for a semester or a year. We trust them. They're our partners. We've sent students there in the past. We want you to shortlist 3. Okay, so I'm applying to the University of Otago. That's my first preference. Now, we want you to list a second and third preference. So if not Otago, maybe we'll check out Waikato, another place in New Zealand. And if not New Zealand, then I'm thinking I might go somewhere in Hong Kong. So let's see what we've got. The City University of Hong Kong. So before putting in your application, I want you to shortlist those 3 universities, your 3 preferences. Remembering that these academic programs are contingent on you getting credit. So think about what your degree is. Okay? If you're doing a Bachelor of Business, does the University of Otago offer business? Same for the University of Waikato and the same for the City University of Hong Kong. Okay, so I've shortlisted and I've indicated my 3 preferences. Really important. Click done and move on. Pre-existing medical conditions. Okay, this isn't a there is no gotcha here. This is just a way in which we can support students who require additional supports in going abroad. I'll give you an example. A few years ago, we had a student apply for an exchange program who was vision impaired. So for me, I was like, oh, there are some risks there to that person traveling internationally, but then also arriving in country at one of our partners. We want to make sure that they're able to support this student If we send a student to a university that doesn't have the right support services, well, then the student's going to have a bad time. So we ask you, please, to provide whether or not you do have a pre-existing medical condition or not. Simple as that. It's just yes, no. Do you have a pre-existing medical condition? I'm going to click yes, I do. And I'll be followed up with later and ask some questions about that, what sort of information I can provide. So maybe I've got asthma, for instance, or maybe I've got dyslexia and I need a learning access plan. Okay, no big deal. It's just if you have a learning access plan at UTAS and then go and study overseas, it's really important that you have a similar learning access plan. It's important that you have the same supports whilst abroad. Otherwise, you have an increased chance of failure. You have an increased chance of having a bad time. These programs are supposed to be fun, enriching, but they can also be really challenging. And if you don't get the support that you need, you're going to have a bad time. So pre-existing medical conditions, okay, really important that you flag them with us in your application from the start. Otherwise, you miss out, you fall behind, and you might have a really unpleasant experience. Emergency contact details. Okay, who's my emergency contact? It's dad. Probably put their name down. They're my parent guardian. Their email address is dad@gmail.com. That'll do. And pop in a phone number. Does your emergency contact need an interpreter? No, he seems to be pretty fluent. Cool. Emergency contacts. If anything goes wrong whilst you're abroad, okay, we'll respond as best we can. But in some instances, we might want to reach out to your parents or guardians and just be like, hey, we haven't heard from Jack in a while. Have you heard from him? Is Jack safe? Or Jack's broken his ankle. He's in hospital. He's stable. Okay. In some instances, it's intelligent, right, for us to get in touch with your emergency contact. So that's why we ask for that information. Nothing sinister there. Academic recommendation time. You'll notice as I'm completing this form, okay, that it's sort of auto-saving. Got these green tick marks, which is good. We're progressing through the application, and it's auto-saving. Okay, so if for some reason I need to get out of this application or my computer shuts down, you can log back in and you can carry on where you were, carry on from where you left off. So directory lookup, an academic reference. Let's pretend I'm doing a Bachelor of Business at UTAS, and I've spoken to maybe the head of management there. We'll say Mark Wickham. I'll be able to search him up. A couple of different Marks in here. We've got Mark Bowles. Mark, where's Wickham? There we go, down the list. Lots of Marks. Wilson, Williams, Wickham, bingo. And so he's the person that I might send this off to for an academic reference, okay? He'll get a form and it will just be like, are you confident this student is equipped to go abroad? And to what degree do you know this student? He'll say, I've known Patrick for 1 year, 1 semester. He did Human Resources Management 1. Okay, so you identify an academic. You've spoken to them beforehand. You don't want to just send them a form unexpectedly. So that is the academic reference. Today, I'm going to send it to a colleague, Georgia Bray. Send that through to her. I'll waive my right. I may have to read and obtain copies. So you can either yes, no that, no big deal either way, and I'll send that request through to my academic reference. All right, we're halfway there, folks, which is good. Okay. We've only got a few more questions. One relates to financials. One is a student declaration of understanding. Another is how to apply for an Australian passport. So some Australian citizens on the phone, this might be really useful to you. You're not going to be going abroad without an Australian passport. So start thinking about that now, okay? Next, we've got a statement of purpose and then a little explainer for smart traveller, safety, security, and a bit of planning. Okay, so let's get on with it. Financials. What have we got here? We recommend that students complete a budget to track expenses. You can check out one of our last videos where we're talking all about finances and scholarships. But short version is we want students to have access to a minimum of 15,000 Australian dollars per semester. Okay, so you read through this information and sign here. Then we have a student declaration of understanding. Okay, this is a terms and conditions. Nice little dot points, pretty simple and straightforward. The details you provide are correct and true. You may be required to complete a fit for travel form prior to departure. You have no debts to UTAS. You've not been in breach of the student code of conduct in the past 6 months. You're aware that you need to receive university travel approval prior to departure. The units that you receive for the credit you receive will be on a pass-fail basis, and so on. So read and sign your life away. Okay, how to apply for an Australian passport. Do you already have a current or valid Australian passport? Yes or no? If yes, I do, got an Australian passport. Tick box, done. If you click no, you'll get a little explainer video on how to go about applying for a passport. So we're progressing quite well. We've got through this in, say, 10 minutes. So far, so good, very easy. Statement of purpose, okay? This is going to take you a little bit of time. It's a 500-word essay, shall we say. 500 words or less, please explain why you would like to undertake this overseas program. Okay. Giving you a little cue here, consider writing your essay in a Word doc and then just copy and paste across when you're ready to paste it in. So we've suggested some points of discussion, okay? 500-word essay can be a bit intimidating, but let's do it this way. We've got 5 questions, 100 words each. So I'm going to copy and paste these titles in, and then what I would do is just respond in between 50 or 100 words to each of these. Make it bite-sized chunks. So what do you hope to achieve on the program? Develop, learn, grow, etc., etc. What challenge do you think you'll face? Well, this is some time to think and reflect. What do you think will be the hardest part of traveling and living over abroad for 6 months? Be honest with yourself, put that down. How do you predict this overseas experience will affect you academically? Will it help you? Will it make you think about how another country, another discipline is taught? So perhaps it will expand your worldview and give you some insights into how similar content can be taught in a different way. Okay. How does this all fit into your personal development or career goals? This is your story. You get to write about it. Okay. And in what way will you be a good ambassador to the University of Tasmania? Okay. We only send trusted, quality students abroad. Okay. So this is an opportunity for you to self-select out, but also talk about the good things that you're going to do when applying and once you arrive in country. So responded to all of these questions, XXX, click done and move on. Last question is about Smart Traveller. Okay, this is the Australian federal government and they give travel advice. They give travel advisories, consular support for people who get into trouble, get into hot water while abroad. They send alerts and updates for people. So if there's a tsunami warning, for example, and we have someone in the South Pacific, then Smart Traveller will, if you signed up for alerts, send through alerts and updates. They give health and medical advice, and they also give general travel tips. I actually got some travel tips. I've signed up for all the Smart Traveller alerts. And I've got an update from Smart Traveller today, which I'll be reading through. Really helpful, really insightful. A trusted source of information, quality, regularly updated information relating to anything and everything that you need to consider before traveling overseas, and they're a safety net for in case you get in trouble whilst you are overseas. We're trying to be helpful. We're trying to save you the effort. This is the link to their website. So when you're applying, you can check out the website. Oh, I'm going to go to New Zealand next year. So click on the website, put in New Zealand, and they'll give you some updates and information, things for you to consider in advance of traveling. What vaccinations do you need to have? What do they recommend packing? All that information is on the Smart Traveller website. So we click that, mark as read, and we are done. So I've completed all of these steps, and that is me. So that's what you can expect when you're completing that application. So that's the demo. I'm very aware that there's a high cost of study abroad and exchange programs. So I'm just going to touch briefly on the financial support which is available. Um, and then I think what we'll do is we'll throw to Ty and we'll open up for question time, if that's okay. So financial support, okay, for students who are considering studying overseas as a part of their UTAS degree. There's UTAS scholarships and grants, okay, really importantly, okay, generous scholarships and grants run out of the scholarships office at UTAS. They fall under the travel umbrella. Um, Loads and loads of different pots of money, which it would be foolish to not apply for, okay? Lots of different scholarships and grants. So UTAS offer scholarships, but there's also the OS Help Loan. It's for Australian students. It's a government loan up to $9,500. You can get the loan out twice. So if you go overseas for a year, you can get, let's say, just over $19,000 to help pay for the cost of flights, accommodation, and living in country, visas, etc. So there's an enormous amount of financial support through the OS Help Loan and scholarships at the university level. That's how UTAS helps you to pay for this program. There are also external funding opportunities. So some of our partner universities, Gothenburg, for instance, in Sweden, the University of Copenhagen in Denmark, are two which spring to mind. City University of Hong Kong offer a generous scholarship for our students. Sciences Po in Paris just sent me an email about how they have a scholarship for our students. So some of our partners offer scholarships, and intelligent students, they'll apply for UTAS scholarships, but they'll also apply themselves and choose a partner university which offers funding. So check out our funding website, okay? Put funding opportunities into the website that we looked at earlier, and all the different scholarships that we're aware of will be listed there. There's also government grants, namely the NCP, the New Colombo Plan. Each year we send a different amount of scholars overseas. If you go back to our funding and scholarships video from last week, there's a lot of information on the NCP. But the short version is it's a lot of funding. It's the federal government giving UTAS money to send students overseas. Also, if you receive Centrelink, you can also get payments whilst abroad. So keep that in mind. If you're getting payments now, New Start or what have you, then those payments can continue whilst overseas. But underpinning all of this, I would say it's really important to have some of your own savings. And maybe Ty, you can speak to this a little bit yourself later. But student contributions, it's important to work a part-time job. It is hard work, but it would be smart to have a little nest egg or a little pot of savings which you can rely upon just to get you started. I think when I went overseas on an exchange program, I had $3,000 of my own saved, and I used that to book my flights and pay the first installment of accommodation. I also got scholarships, I got the OS Help Loan, and I was receiving Centrelink funding. So that's how I funded my overseas program many years ago. And I would encourage students to consider those options, but also having some savings. Nice. So that's a quick little snippet on how to apply, the steps to applying, and also the financials which we want you to consider. And now it's time, what you've all been waiting for, our guest speaker. So just on the screen, as you can see, look, Ty, if you're there, we're going to have a quick little, I guess, a couple of questions for you. But for those on the call, Ty is doing a Bachelor of Natural Environment and Wilderness Studies. And he studied overseas for 1 year in Norway at the Norwegian University of Science and Technology. So Ty's come back. He's got a wealth of experience. He's been overseas, and I believe he had a fantastic time. So he's generously offered up a little bit of his time, and he's going to talk to us a little bit about his experience. So maybe with that, Ty, and thanks again for joining, I was thinking we might work backwards, because I'm just going to call it recency bias. But if you can tell us a little bit about your experience abroad, and maybe some cultural insights, like what's different about Norway, what's different about the classroom. And then obviously this session is about tips for applying and what it's like applying um, for your exchange program. Maybe you can get us started with maybe some insights about what it was like. How was it? How was studying overseas? Was it worth it? Any
Yeah, of
regrets?
course. Totally worth it. Yeah, I probably would have stayed for longer if I could. I'd be back there now, but I had to come back and finish off studies here. Um, I don't think you can really regret too much if you just go ahead and say yes to opportunities. I think usually it works out one way or another. There were trips around, like one of them was to Finland that I got to do, which was awesome, and I was pretty keen on pulling out of it. It was like $800 or something. It was a bit of money, but I think at the end of the day, looking back at it, it's like, yeah, I would just say yes to things like that. Um, I think it's well worth your time.
I'm curious, Ty. I'm looking at this image. I think when we had you on the information session panel last month, well, I had some different images up, but
Yeah.
I've popped some other some. There's just so many stunning photos, and I'm just curious about what's this? So is this a hike? I mean, this is a road, I'm guessing. Like everything's snowed over. That's not
Yeah.
Mount Wellington, I don't think. What's the story? What are you up to here?
Yeah, that was at Christmas time. And one of my friends from back home came over to visit. So we went on it's a huge thing. I'm pretty sure it's similar in Sweden too. Sweden and Norway, they have all these cabins and huts in the middle of nowhere. So we caught a bus, like a regional bus, out 2 hours from the city or whatever, into the middle of nowhere, and hiked into a cabin there and stayed the night. And it was all, the uni has a group that takes care of them, and it cost 50 kroner. It was like $7 to stay there for the night, sort of thing. So that was a pretty, yeah, pretty cool way to spend Christmas out in the
White
bush.
Christmas. I think that's really unique, right? When you're coming from Tasmania, it's rare that you'll see such sights. I think that's a really breathtaking image. I think it captures part of your adventure really well. But I also you have a bucket load of photos which you shared with us, which I've poorly titled these ones, but sitting in unfamiliar places. I was curious. The more I look at this image, I'm like, that sort of captures what it can be like sometimes going on an exchange. I don't know, something like you've got big boots to fill, or it could be you look pretty chill there. But I mean, first, where is this big chair, and what is it, and why does it exist?
It's down near Oslo, the capital in Norway. It's like an hour south, a little coastal town called Horten. And I have no idea. I was on the way to the supermarket, and I was like, this is cool. I want to get a photo on this. It's huge. Um, yeah, just some of the things you come across there.
Okay. Well, I mean, this is interesting for me anyway. With supermarkets, that's I've got a dear friend that whenever they go to a new country, they always go to the supermarket. I mean, um, makes sense. You got to eat, but they say that it provides a real insight into that culture, and the things which are on display are typically, they're your staples. They're the foods that people eat. So, this might come across as a dumb question, but what's the difference between an Australian supermarket, or a Tassie supermarket, and the one that you had in Horton?
Um,
What are they eating?
oh, they love frozen pizza and Pepsi Max. That's like,
Or
I don't know, they love it.
timeless.
But yeah, I mean, you're gonna find most of the same staples there. There's always, the go-to. A spag bowl was like my comfort meal from back home. It's like always have spaghetti bolognese here. It's quick to make. It's easy. It tastes good. So there's always like those comfort foods you can find. But then there's crazy stuff like mackerel in tomato sauce, or pig liver spread for your toast in the morning. Like stuff that's worth trying, but not something that I kept readily available in my cupboard. Yeah.
Okay, so you branched out a little bit. I like that.
Yeah.
I think that's wise. Try everything once, as they say.
Yeah, that's it.
The other image we've got here is I don't know if that's a new friend or an old friend, but what's happening here? I'm curious. You're going down some sort of lit up tunnel.
Yeah. That's actually that's an old mate, but that was in Trondheim where I was studying, and that's just It was in the winter time, so around Christmas time. Is when that photo was taken also, and because it's so dark all the time up there, being a little shy of the Arctic Circle, it yeah, it was pretty grim, but they managed to light the whole streets up. There were fairy lights everywhere, really cozy sort of feel to it, and that was just some feature that they had there to, I don't know, make the town feel a little magical around Christmas time, I guess.
Okay, yeah, of course. So being that close to the northern, yeah, the I guess up the North Pole, being that close to Santa Claus and the Arctic Circle, that yeah, it's something that we don't really think about um in Tassie is that we still get some sunlight in winter, right? But because you're so far north, you are sort of pitched into darkness for what 4 months of the year or something like that, or a little bit less.
Yeah, yeah, we had in the depth of winter it was about 2 hours of sunlight a day for those sort of 3 4 months there. Yeah,
That is so full on. That's and then the opposite is also true. Like when
yeah,
it's summertime, it's just constant daylight.
yeah. That was
Yeah,
much more fun. Yeah,
yeah. So I had a buddy that came back from Norway, and he said that it was just the strangest thing. It's something that is very difficult to explain. But he saw parents playing with their kids at like like 10 p.m. 10 p.m. at night just because it's completely light out. And it's still like, yeah, it's otherworldly. And that's such a anyway, that's so surprising if you haven't experienced it. Because you don't
it's
get that in Taz.
it's kind of speaks to the culture as well. Like the way that their culture is shaped, the cultural experiences over there. It's a lot of it comes down to it's related to that.
Mm,
Uh, in the way that they really it made me appreciate the sunlight more and the sunny
mm,
days.
mm,
Um, yeah, they're almost like different people in the summer and winter, and that
mm.
gives you a bit of an insight to why. Yeah.
Right, okay. Yeah. And then I'm guessing, well, this maybe this follows then. Is this still winter? When did you go? I'm guessing that you went over to Paris because that's the Louvre in the background, that little
Yeah.
the glass pyramid, shall we say? Or that's the
Yeah.
I'm going to say the very lavish skylight that they've got going on there. Um, Yeah, is this summer or this is winter? It's a great shot. It's terrific. Can you tell us a bit about this?
Yeah, that was winter. That was just a little posing routine at the front of the Louvre in winter. Yeah, I wanted to escape the cold. So, and that was a big reason also. Like, I wanted to do exchange. It gave me a really good base. I hadn't been over to Europe before. It gave me a good base to kind of explore around. It's it probably costs, if I wanted to fly to Paris from Norway, it costs the same as maybe here to Sydney or something. So it's super accessible.
Okay. Yeah, using it as a base. I get that. So we do have a lot of students that will go on exchange to say Norway or Sweden or Denmark or the UK or wherever, Germany, France, you name it. But then they'll use that as a base and then either catch trains or planes. And you could be within the hour, you could be in an entirely different country. Whereas in Australia, you're on a plane for an hour and you're still in the same state.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I went first trip I did was to Poland and I got a $50 Australian dollars trip return to Poland and back. So it was just crazy.
Madness. Okay, well, send me some photos of that. I'm curious. I want to hear some more about Poland. But times are ticking, so we'll keep ticking on if that's okay. But I just love this. I think I also really appreciate that you've got the legs out in winter. That's true Australian abroad. Represent. Um, I hope this isn't the less fun part of the presentation, but I want to ask you some questions, the three questions on the screen. If you have any advice for applicants, for other students who are considering going abroad, I showed the sort of the filter, the way in which you can filter and find different programs. So that's a really helpful tool for students. Is that something that you used? Were you part of the cohort that had that application system, or how did you go about finding the right university for you? And then we'll jump into these questions. How did you go about, yeah, finding the right
Yeah, I
program?
was trying to think back to that while had it up before. Um, And yeah, I did. I think that was the most. I look back at it, it was super fun. There's just so many choices of places to go. I felt like that I could go anywhere in the world. It was awesome. But I think the first thing I kind of you start big and then you kind of filter it down smaller. So first I just had to find out, all right, where in the world do you guys offer that does environmental science?
Mm,
And then I was like, all right, where in the world do I want to go? And I decided it was up Scandinavia, not necessarily Norway, but in that area. Um, and I'm like, okay, what cities are good? Do I want a big city? Do I want a small city? What do I want from it? Do I want to be close to the mountains, to the beach, and narrow it down that way? Um, keeping in mind also then you have to look into units that will actually transfer directly. So I narrowed it down to like, yeah, I think they're like 4 or 5 around Denmark, Sweden, Norway that matched my criteria, and then it was just looking for uh, student life mostly. I looked into what student life was like. Trondheim has stupid amount of students there. It's a good way to meet people from all around, and because I ended up extending, also it had so many units that were directly transferable. That wasn't a problem. It left my options open um, to extend. There were more units there.
Okay. Well, I think that by the sounds of things, you chose a really good university for you because it had so many subject offerings, had so many units which could count back for credit. And just a word of warning to those on the call: sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes if you choose badly from the outset, you choose a university that only has 3 or 4 units in law or engineering, then your choices are limited. And if you don't get those classes, then the wheels can fall off. So I'm really glad that worked out for you. Is there anything else that worked well? I guess we're focusing a little bit on the good here, but is this all
Yeah.
played like yeah, to get you going, what worked well?
I spent a lot of time. I remember I spent a lot of time in the library looking into this in those months leading up. I almost treated it like a like an extra unit, going on abroad. And I mean, I know you speed run through the process in about 10 minutes before, but in the reality, it's probably not going to be that simple. Um, so looking back, it wasn't that bad. At the time, I know it was a little stressful, but I think it's every part of it was worth it. And just having those conversations early with yourself in the learning abroad team and student advisors and course coordinators, having everyone in the loop and understanding where you sit with everyone is yeah. If you get that sorted early, everything else tends to move pretty smoothly.
Mhm. No,
So
that's really good advice, Ty, and thanks for sort of stressing that was a speed run, and maybe I was a bit too gung ho saying that you can do it in 10 minutes. Obviously, the planning you can execute, you can do the activity quickly, but
yeah,
all the planning, the hours of planning that go in beforehand, yeah, I can't speak lightly to that. So yeah, thanks for adding
it
that
was also
emphasis.
really fun and exciting.
Mm.
It is work, but it's like yeah, it's all exciting. So
Well,
worth it.
how good is it when you can focus on something that is, you're investing in yourself, which is fun, which is, the options are seemingly, well, there's a bit of choice paralysis. Oh, I could be in Barcelona, the different countries, the different cities, the different states and places that you can go. It does sort of really bring energy into your life. I remember that myself. So I'm glad that anyway, you were vibing that. A couple more questions then. To counteract all that positivity, what do you wish that you knew before going abroad? Like yeah, that question speaks for itself. What do you
Yeah.
wish you knew?
Um, for the most part, I really did enjoy working it out as I go. As long as you get the big ticket items sorted, and you're not going to get. As long as you know you're going to make it into the country, you're going to have somewhere to stay. You're all enrolled. The rest mostly worked itself out. Although little things like I wish I had have maybe taken a bit more stuff with me or purchased a bit more stuff when I first got there. I didn't realize I was going to extend for that second semester. So um, I think having, like I got a bike in those last couple of months, but I was putting it off because I didn't want to spend the money up front at the start, and it probably would have been worth it in that sense. Um, and the money, I mean, I knew it was going to be expensive, and like you said, I kept the budget, used the scholarships, worked some full time hours before I left to save. I used the OS help loan, but um, again, I didn't account for that extension. So I guess look at the different possibilities in that sense. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's really good. Um,
Yeah.
any final words of wisdom for those still on the call?
Um, yeah, just say yes to opportunities. I guess like if you got some mates who are going traveling to another country and you're not sure whether you want to like whether you can fit it in with time or money or whatever. If you can make it work, however sloppy it may be, I'll just say go for it. You're probably not going to regret it at the end of the day. Um, yeah, I don't know if you've gone through it. I know you did before I went. You had a list of apps that were useful for when you're abroad. Um, Maps.me, I think, was one of them that I used that I got from you guys that I used a lot. Look at stuff like that. It'll take a lot of stress out if you've um, got those little things sorted. But yeah, just embrace it. You might not. I don't know. It took me a little bit to make a good group of friends, and I was a little unsure before that. But you can't really be too upset. It's pretty awesome being different place. Embrace it. Embrace the difference. Embrace the suck. But it always, yeah, it's super cool.
Okay. Thanks, Ty. I appreciate the words of wisdom, and I read the feedback of students who have been abroad and then return, and so there's a one of the questions is like, what's the highlight, or what do you recommend for other students? And it just sort of reads like a Nike ad. Everyone's just saying like, just do it, and we get a lot of there is a really gung ho positivity on the end of on the back of a program. But it's also important to balance and check that with, it can be challenging studying overseas. You can get homesick. It can feel sort of overwhelming, needing to forge new friendships and sort of be outside your comfort zone. So it's I guess it needs to come with I don't know, with a warning, right? It's like, the wanderlust and visiting new places is one wonderful thing, but it can, yeah, it can be quite socially tough. So I really appreciate the sentiment of saying that it can be challenging, making new friends and things, but it's absolutely worth it in the end. And I think that I guess, like, you'll be reflecting on this for maybe the rest of your life, like it's still relatively fresh for you. Like, I don't know how long it takes to forget an overseas experience. I don't think I ever have or ever will. So I just, yeah, I'm pleased to hear it's mostly good coming out the back of that. Um, if it's okay, Ty, I'll get you to stick around for another 5 minutes. I think I just wanted to also say thank you so much for being so generous with your time and your experiences, not just the photos, but your reflections. I think that you help people to sort of visualize and understand what these programs are about, how they work, and some of the pitfalls. So I just wanted to say thank you again for all your time and help. Um, I'll stop recording now, folks, because we'll take questions for those who are curious. But please do, if you're shy or you've got to run off to a lecture, no problem. Contact us. There's the website. There's our email address. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate your time. Be in touch, and applications will open soon for exchange next year. Thank you. Thanks again.